I'm Jimmy Blackman, and people ask me all the time, how do you make a self-bow? If I could answer that quickly, that'd be a pretty amazing thing. And I try and explain the best I can, but I got tired of just trying to explain and getting nowhere and recommending books to read, so I decided to make a video about how to make a self-bow. I'm going to make a bow in this video, or series of videos, out of a mulberry stave. It's going to be a kid's bow for my son Logan. And we'll walk you through everything from just a raw stave, through chasing a ring, laying the bow out, tillering, and finishing with the cosmetic work at the end. Logan's excited about shooting his new bow. We'll give you some footage of that toward the end, but I hope you enjoy this video series of the making of a self-bow.
Okay, I've started laying the bow out. I've laid the handle out and I'm getting ready to start on the limbs. It's hard to see here, but you can see here's the center. And what I did was I marked the center of the bow where I wanted the center of the handle to be. It's going to be a 50-inch bow, so then I drew a center line, and this is a straight pyramid, so you don't have to worry too much about the grain as long as you've got you're following, of course, one grain on the back of the bow. But it's not going to be a character bow or a snaky bow, so I don't have to follow this lateral grain all the way down. You could see when you get down here, you can see how this grain kind of bends around. If we were making a character bow or like a snaky bow, like a lot we do with Osage a lot, we'd follow that as our center line, and then we would make our cross marks here. And what I do from the center line is make the center line across it, and then every 2 inches I put a line across the bow. That way we can keep the width equidistant as we go down the bow. With a straight pyramid, it's not as big a deal. I've got 25 inches from the center on either end for either limb, and then I marked a cross line every 2 inches, except for here at the handle because of the dimensions I'm going to make on this handle for him. The bow's only going to be 1 inch wide here at the center. That'll be the center of the handle. And then I went 1 3/4 into a 1/2 inch, and then I came back out another 1 1/4 later to begin the fade. So the width of the fades is 1 inch on this bow on both ends here. Now all I want to do, since it's a straight pyramid, is take a piece of serving string for making a bowstring, and I'm gonna put it right here at the width of the fade, and I'm making the tips a 1/4 inch width since it's a kid's bow. So I've marked them at 1/4 inch here, and I'll just draw a straight line on either side so that our bow is the same, that our limb fades equally from the fade all the way to the knock at the tip. So I'll continue to lay it out, and we'll look at it again once it gets laid out. Okay, so I just finished laying the bow out. It's a 1/4 inch at the nocks on the tips. I've got a cross mark every 2 inches to help me throughout the process. The bow's laid out, as you can see, straight pyramid all the way down to the fades. There's the fade right in here, and then we begin to taper the handle in 1 1/4 down to where the arrow rest will essentially be right in here. Center of the handle, which is 1 inch as well, back down to 1/2 inch, and then back out to the fades 1 1/4 later to the next fade, another 25 inches down to 1/4 inch with the cross marks every 2 inches. Now I leave these fades 1 1/4 inch because I believe that in a little bit longer fade. Obviously you don't want the bow bending in here at all. This handle will not bend at all, and I kind of decided on the length of the handle based on Logan's hand. I measured his hand and just it's 3 inches, but I want to give him some growth room, so we end up with a little over 4 inches there. Now what we'll do with this is we'll take it to the saw, and I'll film that, of course, and show you that. But we'll cut the bow out just a little bit wider than what we have it laid out here, and then we'll decide or determine the width of the limb where I want to start to get it down to floor tiller. And I'll use a rasp to get it down to the lines. I'll rasp it down to the lines, get it nice and evened up and looking symmetrical. Sometimes these angles here take a little bit of time to get these in nice on the lines and really cleaned up good, and then we'll begin the process of floor tillering at that point.
I laid this bow out, I laid it out, as you've seen in the earlier portion of the video, on the sapwood. You can see the sapwood here clearly, and I laid it out on the sapwood because it's a kid's bow, and Logan only pulls about 16 inches draw length, and max he'll probably pull over the next 2 years is 20. So I wasn't really worried about the strength, and I thought that the color of the sapwood along with the mulberry would look good. But after cutting it and taking a real close look at this sapwood, I'm a little concerned with it. So I'm going to take the sapwood off, and I'm going to chase the first ring here on the mulberry. I'll show that to you in just a minute. But before I do that, to keep from really, I've got this bow cut out, and you can see the handle's already cut out and laid out pretty much there. I'm going to take my lines for my handle, and I'm going to bring them right on down vertically across the wood, and then I'm going to go ahead, put it in the vise, chase this ring, and then once I get that ring down, I'll clean it up, lay just the handle back out with those lines that I had. I've got this down very close to exactly where the limbs need to be, and quite frankly, if you're 1/8 of an inch off on these lines, as you lay the bow out and the limbs, it ain't going to be that big a deal. You'll take care of that in the tiller process. Once we do that, we'll draw the vertical line and begin to floor tiller the bow. So from here, we'll go ahead, I'll draw the lines out vertically, and we'll go ahead and chase a ring. I'll get the video back on as I start chasing a ring with the draw knife. Look for part 2, where we chase a ring, lay the bow back out, and begin the tillering process.